Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Healing Words podcast. Our guest today has gained and lost more than 700 pounds over 4 decades. Michelle Pettis was overwhelmed, overstressed, overworked, and overeating for all of the wrong reasons. Then she gained clarity. Today, she's an award winning author helping others shift their mindset and make better decisions regarding food. In her March 2024 TED Talk, she reflects on the many false messages regarding food. Thank you for joining me today, Michelle.
It is my delight to be here. Thank you, Pam, for the invitation.
Now, let's go back. Had you always had an issue with food from a childhood on? And when did it become clear to you that, you know, this is kind of getting out of hand?
Oh, wow. Okay. What a question. So, yes, I have always had an issue with food from childhood,
Okay.
right? As many of us do, but we don't always recognize it, right?
Okay. Ah,
And
okay.
part of my challenge was that I was a chubby kid.
Mm,
I was a big kid. I was fat kid, and I always felt like, even though now looking back, I don't know that that was always the case, but I always felt like I was the biggest kid in the class. And a turning point came for me when I was in, and I write about this in my book. I write about this in my book, and it's called "Big Boned and Blue." Is the name of the essay in my book. But I remember being in the sixth grade, and I'm old enough to remember a time when in school, every year, the teacher, took your weight, took your height, and recorded it, right? And I think it was back when there was like a president's physical fitness thing for elementary school kids. It
yes.
was during that era.
Hmm.
And I remember being weighed and the teacher calling out my weight,
Oh.
just like she did everybody got their weight called out. It wasn't me
Hmm.
specifically,
Hmm.
but my number was 135 pounds. I was 135 pounds in the sixth grade. I was the
Hmm.
biggest one in my class, even bigger than any of the boys. And
Okay.
I was horrified. And
Mm.
it wasn't like that all of a sudden happened, but for some reason that at that particular time in my life, that number resonated. It meant something. And I
Okay.
ran home just horrified. And I cried to my grandmother, and my grandmother, I grew up with my grandparents in the South, in Texas. And my grandmother, she said, "Oh, baby, you're not fat. You just have big bones." Right? And so,
Yes.
and so I, I accepted that, but I didn't accept it. Right? And that summer between my sixth grade year and the seventh grade, I exercised. I watched everything that I ate. And this is like the early 1970s. We didn't have access to all the information, but I did whatever research I could. I drank water, I skipped meals, and by the time I got to the seventh grade, I had dropped everything. It might have happened, naturally, because your hormones, your kid, you're going from 12 to 13. Some of that might have happened anyway. But from from high school all the way up into college, during all my high school years, I didn't have a problem. In fact, I was a cheerleader. I wasn't very athletic, but I was just out
Mm.
there. I was a cheerleader when I was in high school, but the weight issues started again once I got in college and wasn't equipped to deal with some of the emotional things that I faced in college, and it started showing up in food, and it continued until I was 60 years old. This
Okay.
seesaw, this up and down, not really understanding. So yeah,
Okay. Okay.
it has been a lifelong struggle.
Okay. So from the way you described it, from 1978 to 2019 is when your weight just fluctuated up and down, in and out, losing and gaining over 700 pounds. But
Yes,
COVID changed all that. Could you tell us
yes,
about that?
yes. So by the time COVID hit, I had been working with the doctor to get my weight under control. And but I had been working with the doctor to get my health under control, to do some other things. And I had something of a, I guess maybe an epiphany prior to going to this doctor. And what I realized that my weight was, I always knew it, but I didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
And so what really happened, Pam, was even before 2019, when the pandemic hit, in 2008, when we hit that recession in
Mhm.
2008,
Mhm.
2010, I lost
Mhm.
everything. I,
Oh,
I lost my, I didn't lose my house, but I lost the Mercedes. I lost the 401k. Was, I lost the job, all of that. And I was like down to bare bones. And I
right.
ended up, I live in Maryland. I mean, I lived in DC at the time, but I got a job in Baltimore. And
Mhm.
I got a job in Baltimore. I was very grateful for it, but it was paying me a third of what I had been making before. So I'm trying to get my life back, right? And then I lose my car, and now I have to walk, right?
Mhm.
Now I have to walk. Now I have to catch the bus. Now I have to do all those kinds of things. And what I noticed was that in the walking, I started to get healthier. I started to lose weight, something that I had not been able to do.
Right.
And when I noticed myself losing weight, I got I got inspired, right? I got inspired a little bit. And then someone invited me to a women's conference. And my history was is working in sales. So it was a very competitive environment. And someone invited me to a women's conference, one that I'd never had this experience before, but it was just this warm, inviting, uplifting space of women supporting one another.
Mhm.
I guess this person saw something and knew that I needed it. But at that conference, the facilitator said, "Look at your life. We can divide our life into different quadrants. We can look at education, we can look at career, we can look at physical, we can look at emotional, we can look at environmental. So rank your life, rate your life." And I did that, and there wasn't any place in my life at that point that I could rate over a 3.
Wow.
It was that's how tough things were. But I knew I had to do something. And my natural inclination for life and everything that I do is massive action in all areas all the time. Like, and then you can't sustain it. I can't sustain it, right? That I'm tired and I fall out, that I don't do anything for a long time. And I knew that I couldn't do that
Mm.
if I really wanted sustainable change. So I looked at all the areas, and I knew I could make money again. That's something that I knew how to do. But something I had never mastered was my weight thing. So I decided to apply single-minded focus to that one area. So she had said, just imagine if you can increase all these areas of your life by just 1%, by 1%. That was too overwhelming at the state that I was in, right? I said, I can't even think about all of them. I just need to think about one thing.
Right.
And I started thinking about this one thing, and I applied single-minded focus to just my weight. And as I started to move down the road, other areas of my life started to improve as well. So, not having the car, I was walking because I had to, and I didn't even like it. I hated it because every time I walked, it was a reminder of my old life being stripped from me. And but as I started to lose weight, I started to think about the walking a little bit differently, and I started to walk with intention. And then
Right.
I started to exercise with intention. I had already dealt with the food in some instances because I didn't have the money to go out to eat like I did before. So I was, my old life, I was going out to eat like 5, 6 times a week, right?
Right. Right.
Going to happy hour, going to brunch, I would go brunch twice on Saturday and Sunday, right? That was a life, right? And all of that was gone. So I had to, so in many ways, that pandemic, not that pandemic, but the recession of 2008 saved me because it
Wow.
made me start to think about my life and my priorities in a different way. Not having, right?
Right.
Having a function like that. So anyway, so things started to get better. Things started to get better, and I got a windfall. I'm telling you like the straight back story here. Uh, I got a windfall of some money, and at that point, I had been working out, but I wasn't losing as fast as I wanted to, and it was difficult because my breasts were so big.
Mhm.
They were just I couldn't do what I wanted to do, but I found out that my insurance would cover breast reduction, and I wanted to do the breast reduction so I could exercise more.
Mhm.
Well, when I went to get the breast reduction, the doctor said, "Well, I can do that, and your insurance will cover it. But while I'm in there, I can do a tummy tuck for you too." Um,
Mhm.
like, what? You can what? You can do that? And he said, "Yeah." Well, I had gotten this windfall, and let me tell you something, Pam. I got this windfall of money. I needed a new front door. My front door was held together by duct tape. When I lost my job, I was in the middle of renovating my house. I still had paper on the outside of my house. I had paper on the outside of my house for 5 or 6 years.
Mhm.
I took that money, and I'm not saying anybody else should do that, but I took
Mhm.
that money and I got that tummy tuck because that's what I needed to get me through
Mm.
the period, to be able to to be able to see myself differently,
Mhm.
to be able to see myself differently. And because I had been struggling with this and been overweight for so long and tried to make it work for so long. I couldn't even imagine myself,
Yeah.
right, being in a healthy place. So I needed a picture of that. So
Right.
he did the tummy tuck, and I felt better, and I'm walking and I'm working out. But when he did the breast reduction and the tummy tuck, then I was like shaped like that, right? I was like, and so I'm going to the doctor because my thighs were bigger than my waist, right? My thighs
Mhm.
were bigger than my waist. And I said, this silhouette, this is help me. And he said, well, I can do a thigh lift too. I can, help you with that. And so he did, he
Mhm.
came in. So, people,
Okay.
I'll say I had the surgery. I didn't have the
Mhm.
bariatric surgery, but
Right.
I had way too many rounds of liposuction. So,
Mhm.
but he did that, and I was able to see this contour that I'd never seen before. I got down to a 16. I was like, man, I can get to this 16, I can maintain it. I
Right.
can maintain it, right? And I did for a little while, but then I saw the weight coming back. I started to gain the weight back. And
How and what time frame are we talking? Are we talking within six
maybe
months,
like a
12 months?
2 year, maybe like a over 2 year time period.
And you felt it with like your clothes were getting
Like, yeah, yeah.
tighter and
But so my clothes were getting tighter, but I was still squeezing in them, right? So
mm,
I was a 16. By the time I was a 16, squeezing into a 14, right?
okay.
Not willing to
Mm-hmm.
admit what was really happening, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would see it in the pictures, but I would try to rationalize it because there were signs. And I went to a work conference, and I ate way too much pizza in way too short a period of time. And I had been going to this doctor to, work on some general wellness things. And I was trying to trying to do all the external stuff and not the internal work, right?
Mm,
And so, but when I went to this conference and I ate that pizza and I knew I had to do something. I left that conference. I went straight to her office. Thankfully, she didn't have anybody. She wasn't seeing anybody. I'm like, okay, help me now. Like, help me. I'm ready for whatever it is you got. And she said, well, what's going on? And I write about this, the second story in my book called Pizzagate Breakdown. She asked me 1,000 questions, right? And it was in the course of that questioning, she said to me, stress will kill you.
ooh,
Stress will kill you. And I had really never connected the dots, right? I hadn't connected the dots like that. And when she gave me this plan, it was a low calorie plan with some shots. I knew that I could do it. I knew that I could do it because I had followed plans and lost weight many, many times before. But
right.
what I hadn't done was figure out how to keep it off. And in her office, I did something that I had not done before. I prayed. I
Mm,
prayed for understanding. I prayed, God, help me. I'm missing something. there's some sort of connection. And I had been to counseling. I spent thousands of dollars, thousands of hours in therapy in the 1990s and the 2000s, right? I did all of that, but I still had not been able to connect the dots in a meaningful way.
Mm,
So I was just, God, help me, help me, help me, help me understand what I'm missing. Let me figure out what I need to know because I have got to get off this hamster wheel. I've got to get off. So the
right,
doctor
right.
gave me the plan to follow. She gave me the, what I could eat,
I
what I
could eat.
shouldn't eat, the,
The meal
the shots.
planning. Hmm. Hmm.
Right. And so I was doing it. I was doing good. Going to her
Okay.
office, losing every weight. That was that every week. That wasn't a surprise to me.
Okay.
Um, but with her instruction, what she said was, follow this plan, you will not be hungry. She
Mm.
said, follow this plan, you will not be hungry. And she was right. I wasn't. But there came a time during this process when found myself wanting to eat. And I said to myself, why do I want to eat? Why do I want to eat? Because I'm not hungry. The doctor told me I wasn't going to be hungry. I know I'm not hungry, but why do I want to eat right now? I had never in 60 years of living asked myself that question. Why do I want to eat?
Okay. And I know where we're going with this because this is what switched it for you. This thought, following this
This is when the light
train of
bulb came on.
thought. Okay. But you had a conversation with a family member. Was that before or after this? Because that is when it really,
Okay, so yeah, that story, what's known in my circle as the watermelon story. Um, that conversation happened with my uncle years before. That happened in the 1990s. That,
were you able to
no, I
connect it or
wasn't.
still didn't connect them? Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
I connected it, but I didn't know I connected it. I
Okay.
didn't know what that story meant.
Okay.
That story laid just really dormant and inside of
Okay.
me until this moment. Until this moment. So no, I could let me tell you how I connected it. Because once my uncle told me the story and told me that he was beaten because he stole a watermelon, as a kid, and as a result, he doesn't eat watermelon, right? He didn't eat watermelon. He was pretty near 70 years old when he told me that story. So when he told me that story, I said to him, I asked him the question, Billy, do you think the lesson, now that you look back, you're a grown man, right? My grandfather's dead, your father's dead, we're in a completely different place now. Do you think that the lesson back then was supposed to be thou shalt not steal, right?
Because that's what we would think the lesson is.
And he just looked at me and said, I don't eat watermelon. And that, and that, and so when he said that to me back then, I didn't, I didn't make any sort of emotional connection to why he didn't eat watermelon or even to my
Mhm.
own behavior. It was
Mhm.
just a sad story to me.
Right.
Just a sad story. But when I remembered it, I realized that was God answering my prayer. That was God answering my prayer. My prayer that I had prayed when I was in the doctor's office helped me understand what's going on with this. When that story came up in my head, I've 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 had I've had that story inside of me since the 1990s. I've been carrying it around with me, but I didn't know the purpose of it. So I mean, it just speaks to me how we all have what we need, but what we don't know how to do is tap into the stuff. We don't know how to tap into it. I had the
Right.
knowledge, but didn't know what to do with it, right? Didn't know it was there
Right.
until.
Right. Until then, you say something important that I always say, and I'm known for saying in my writing. We have everything that we need. There is no finding out. There is an uncovering that stress and trauma and negativity and false beliefs and patterns has tamped down. But even in
Mm-hmm.
2 Peter 1:3 says we have been given everything we need pertaining to life and godliness is in us.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that
Yes.
our readers will understand, the story that you're talking about is again your uncle who was beat for stealing a watermelon. And from that point, as from a child up until when he died, well past 70, he never ate watermelon again.
He never ate it. He
And
never ate it
your
again.
prayer asking God, I know that I shouldn't do this. What's going on? You're starting to put two and two together, and then you come up with the concept that saved you was food stories. So can you talk
Food.
to us about that?
Yes. 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 So this, what I realized was that my uncle did not eat watermelon because of the experience, because of the memory, because of the event that he associated with the food.
Okay.
Event, memory, experience, association.
Hmm.
We all have events, memories, and experiences that we associate not just with food, but with everything that we do.
Hmm.
And those events, memories, and experiences inform or guide or direct every other action that we take, including eating. And so
Mm,
when we're able to understand that the actions that we take are guided by this belief that's created based on some experience, memory, or event, when we're able to track that and identify that, we can change everything in our life. Not just how we manage food, but how we manage every single thing, because it's all those events, experience, and memories form belief.
mm.
And belief guides our behavior. And so the problem and the challenge with so many people, as they're trying to establish new habits, is that they just focus on the habit. They don't focus on the belief system. That's what
Ah,
that's what that's what happens with people in diets. They just focus, like I said, on how much can I eat and how much of it can I have. What can I eat and how much of it can I have? Right? What's the diet? And then when
right.
you can't stick to the diet, and you can't stick to that behavior, you're not able to connect it to a belief system that either makes you do certain things or keeps you from doing certain things. So you can go to a dietitian and the dietitian will say, follow this plan. Yeah, here's a plan for you. But if you have some beliefs around the food on the plan that you can't track, okay. If the dietitian said, here, eat your last meal at 4 o'clock, right? Eat your last, because that's the plan. But if you grew up believing that I can't go to bed hungry, that going to bed hungry means that there's some sort of lack. Going to bed hungry means I'm going to wake up hungry and there's not going to be any food. Or if going to bed hungry means that we don't have money, that we don't have resources, that there's some deprivation that's tied to it,
Mhm, mhm.
you've got to unpack the negative feelings that you have around what it means to go to bed and not eat.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right. And that's legacy. That's passed down. You might have plenty of food in your kitchen, but if you grew up with parents or grandparents or somebody in your family that had that felt that we don't have any food, right?
Mhm,
I
mhm.
don't I don't I don't ever want my kids to go through that. I don't ever want my kids to experience that. So I'm gonna give them everything they want, everything they see that they say that they want to eat, because I don't
Right.
want them to do that, right? Not really understanding that we live in a cute society that encourages us to eat when we aren't hungry. That the food manufacturers just want us to buy food, and people think they're hungry and they are not.
You're
They
not.
think that's hungry. And kids for sure don't know. But if you've got a parent that's coming from this operating in this space of lack, the thing that they don't want to hear is, mom or daddy, I'm hungry, because that takes them to a place of feeling
Where
like
they
they're
were
not good providers, or brings up
exactly.
some old stuff that they don't know how to process.
I want to, I'm listening to you and I am identifying some of that in my brain. When we grew up without a lot of food, and I live in here alone, girl, I've got so much food in my house. I mean, and I can plot, I can tell you what I'm going to be eating on Friday because I've already meal planned and prepped. There is always an abundant, and I'm talking about, I mean, there is always food in my house. And I'm just listening to you, and light bulbs going off because sometimes I just go and I just open the cabinet and I just stand there and look at it. I'm looking at my food. and then I shut the door. I just look in my freezer and I look in my fridge. I got food. I'm gonna shut the door. Because I
Uh-huh.
remember when growing up and we didn't have food.
Yes. There's there there's some
I didn't
safety.
mean for this to turn into a therapy session. That's not.
Yeah, there's some safety and there's some comfort, not
Mhm,
in the food,
mhm.
but in knowing that it's there, in the thought about the food.
Right.
That's where people get tripped up. They think it's the food, but it's the belief about the food. It's what the food means. It's not anything in your cupboard. It's just that when you look at that food that you
Mhm,
have, it's not a
mhm.
specific thing, but what it means to you to be able to have it. That's the comfort.
Right. Right.
That's
Right.
that's that's the comfort.
Right. Okay. I was listening to your TED Talk, and we're going to talk about your TED Talk in a minute,
Okay.
but you said something remarkable in the midst of all of this. Once you became aware, like, I don't think my relationship with food is where it should be, you actually went and looked up the definition of food, and then more light bulbs went off. Talk to us about
Mhm.
that.
Okay. All right. So yeah, after this story kind of penetrated my consciousness, I just kept questioning. And that and when I'm coaching people in this around food story, that that's the thing, is to keep questioning who, what, when, where, why, and how. Start from the vantage point of just a starting point that everything that you believe is a lie.
Ooh,
Just start that we'll start with that everything you believe about food is not the truth. And
everything,
then
girl.
everything. And
Okay.
then we start to uncover, right? That keeps you in a questioning mode. So once this story kind of came up, oh, emotion, that was what was the opposite was true for me. I was eating because I wanted pleasure. My uncle was not eating because of fear, because of pain, because of all these negative things that he connected to food. I was eating because all of the happy and pleasing things that I connected to food. When I got
Mhm.
that, it was like, oh wow. Now, when that happened, then I did. I went to Google. I looked up the definition of food: nutrition, nourishment, energy. That's all food is.
Say
Nutrition,
that again.
nutrition, nourishment, energy. That is
That's it.
the only problem that food solves is hunger. Its only purpose is nutrition, nourishment, and energy. And in order for me to work with anybody, you have to start with accept, even if you don't believe it right now, you have to accept it as truth, because everything flows from that. Everything flows from that. The only problem it solves is hunger. Its only purpose is nutrition, nourishment, and energy. And when you establish those as a baseline, then your questions about what you eat come from that understanding.
The right place, right?
And so
Because
that
I don't see cheese in none of that. I'm
you're right.
like, that don't sound like cheese.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not, right? But what it does, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? But it makes you evaluate. It moves you into awareness. It moves you into consciousness. It moves you into agency,
Mm,
which the food manufacturers, especially the processed food manufacturers, not only say the food manufacturers, the processed food manufacturers do not want us to have. They do
right.
not want us to have, because they make food for profit, not for our health.
Exactly. So the combination of unhealthy food, just keeping that pipeline going, combine that with societal messaging that says, when your girlfriend comes out of town, y'all go out to eat. Celebrate this, celebrate that. Right. When you're sitting at your desk at your corporate job and you don't know if you're going to make a bit deadline, go and get a Snickers. Start stress eating.
Yes,
Okay. Right.
all of that. Or you're at your corporate job. You're at your corporate job, and you're doing whatever it is that you have to do, and your boss comes in and says, I need you to do this, this, and this. I need you to stay late. Here's some extra stuff. Here's a whatever. Didn't I tell you that my kids got a soccer game today and I need to leave on time? I need to leave. I don't have to leave early. I just need to leave at my appointed time. Didn't I tell you that? I know, well, we have this special project that I need you to get done, right? You have until the end of the day to do it, right? Then you just kind of bite your tongue. You bite your tongue because you need this job. Then you go out to lunch and you get, I think I'm gonna get a ham, I'm gonna get some lasagna, and then they had a cheesecake here. I'm gonna get that, all of that. That's emotional eating right there. It's, I just, so many times I just said, and many people say, I just like food. I think I like food more than everybody else. And that, no. So what has happened is that situation in the job, right, just kind of goes unprocessed, because I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm going to take this. They're always putting extra work on me. That puts you in a place of discomfort and pain. But when you go, and none of this is conscious, Pam. It's not conscious. So when you go to lunch, I think, yeah, I'm gonna have an extra side of this, and I want this. All that food that tastes good. That gives
Mhm.
you some pleasure. That gives you some control in a space where you don't have it. But it
Right.
but but it's unconscious. But what if we realize, if you go and you say, look, boss or whoever it is, the workflow here is, this needs to be A, B, and C. This is why you have people doing C, D, and F, because of
Right.
this, because you can see it. But if you are biting your tongue and you're medicating yourself, right, then you just go ahead and do it because it suppresses that, and you continue to work in a situation that's
Right.
destructive, but
Hmm.
because you have something to cover it up. But if you work through the pain of it and don't use the food, you could probably come up with some sort of solution. They may end up giving you a promotion because you figured out a new workflow,
Right. Right.
because
Right.
you
You
because you
redirected that energy. Right.
redirected the energy. And that is, in my estimation, why this issue is such a big problem, is because people never get their needs met. So if you're eating for some reason other than hunger that you don't identify, that you can't recognize, and you're trying to use food to do it, you keep trying to use food to do it, and food will never solve it. Well, that means the problem goes unsolved. And the more the problem goes unsolved, the more pain you're in. And the
Right.
more pain you're in, the more you eat. And it just gets covered up, and
Cycle.
it gets separated from what the real issue is.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
because you never step into the real issue, well, we're here to solve problems. We're here to move through our pain so we can elevate to another level. But if we're always covering it up, if we're afraid of it, if we're not able to sit in the discomfort of it, we never discover, we never get the answer, we never solve the problem, we never do the work that we were sent here to do, because we're afraid of the pain and we don't know how to process it.
Right.
And that is how we're robbed. That's
Mhm.
how we're robbed of our power.
Right.
That
Right.
that that that
And I'm sitting
that
here,
is that's at the
right.
root of it.
I'm sitting here listening to you, and I can see how that faulty thinking and those damaging beliefs will continue to roll through your family. If you have children and they're watching that this is what you do, that lack of food, those kind of covering behaviors, that
Mhm,
becomes normalized. So
mhm,
then your children start
mhm,
doing that
mhm. Yeah.
as well. Well, you mentioned, because my very first question to you was, did you always have a problem with eating? You said you did. So were there people around you who had problems with eating?
So the reason I said that is that I grew up with my grandparents.
Okay.
I grew up with my grandparents because I was born at a time when my mother was unable to take care of me. And
Okay.
that's what folk did back then, like, yeah, here, yeah, take that baby to your mama. Yeah, they'll take care of you. But so I was born in 1958, and I was premature. So
Hmm.
being a 7 month baby, as my grandparents called me, back then, in the 1950s, is not like what it is
It
now.
is now,
So
right.
so I spent, a good amount of time in an incubator. back
Mhm.
back in 1958. So I came into the world with there being this concern about me living, right? And I
Mm.
came in small,
Mhm.
but I was shipped off to country grandparents who said, feed that baby. That's what you do, right?
Say no
Because
more. Yep, yep, yep.
right, you want and you know, I was a people pleasing baby. I mean, you know, if I got big smiles and big, you know, big nods ahead, oh, she's such a good eater. Well, I want to make people happy. The more you said it, the more I ate it. Right?
Right, right. Mhm, mhm,
And the other thing about that, the other layer of this is that, you know, my grandparents took to heart taking care of me. And the last thing that they were going to have anybody say was that they're not feeding her, that she's not getting enough food, right?
right.
That they're mistreating her in some kind of way. So
Exactly.
that was never going to be happening. And the evidence of that was going to be that I got a chubby, stout little,
Mhm,
big
mhm.
little,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
She gets
Which is
plenty.
which is cute when you're a toddler, when you're 3, 4, and 5. I get it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, but she gets plenty, right? You know, so it was that on top of it. You know, the fact that, you know, you have to eat, we have to, you know, feed you. We this is how we take care of you. This is how we show love.
Mhm,
And you know,
mhm.
we're not throwing away food. I mean, because you know, people work hard. And so
That's right.
all those messages were part of my growing up.
Mhm.
That on top of the fact that I believe I developed a sugar addiction very early on, a sugar addiction that wasn't called that.
Mhm.
That wa- that wasn't called that, but it surely was that. So
Were
that's
you
how
a
it
so
that's
you
how it
you
started.
were able to break that sugar addiction?
No, I wasn't able. So um I wasn't able to break it then because it became a struggle for me as an adult. But as a kid, no. From I'd say from up until the time I was in the sixth grade, right? Um, you know, I would sneak and eat cookies and eat up pies and eat and do all of that. By the time when I was in high school, I ate a lot of sweets, but I was very active.
Mhm,
I was I would kind of move in and out of it. I was really conscious of it. But it was
mhm,
hard, right? It was hard. I struggled with, I mean, I was always resisting, I was always fighting, I was that. But when I was a kid, I would, you know, sneak and eat cookies and use my allowance to buy candy and
mhm.
all that stuff, way over the top. Even though I grew up with grandparents who were farmers and encourage good nutrition. So
Right.
it's not like I didn't know what it was, but the I was forming these unhealthy thoughts and beliefs
Mhm, mhm.
it early on.
Right,
Even though I heard it, even though I heard eat this is good for you, there were other things that were in my brain that were overriding it. I
right, right,
I was connecting food. I was connecting food to the experience,
right,
to the experience,
right,
and you
right.
know, really kind of very susceptible to the commercials. And I'll give you one quick example. There was a time when I went to visit my aunt in California. And I remember
Mhm.
we went to the movie theaters. The very first movie I ever saw was Mary Poppins. It was like a
Okay.
big deal, right? I don't even know if I knew what a movie theater was, but anyway, that's what we were to see. And we had dinner before we went to see Mary Poppins. When we got to the movie theater, I saw people in line at the concession stand getting the popcorn and the hot dogs and all that kind of stuff. When we walked in and I saw the people doing that, I was like, I want some popcorn. And my aunt said, you're not even getting popcorn. You just ate. You're not hungry.
Right.
Yeah, you just ate. You're not hungry. But I want some popcorn. I want what everybody else has. I want to do that. I want that. You're not getting that because you just ate, you're not
You
hungry.
were voicing the issue right then, but you didn't
I,
even know it.
I didn't know it. But and so was she. You just ate, you're not hungry. But I didn't hear that. So we went in, we watched the movie. The movie was cool. We went home. And then we went to we were going to another movie. I now forget which one this is. So my aunt was frugal and smart and all that, right? And she cared about me and loved me. We were going to the movie again. She popped popcorn at home and put it in her purse. You know, you weren't supposed to do that, but she didn't care, right? Because she wanted me to have the popcorn, right? She
Mhm.
didn't, right? She was going to be prepared. We got to the movie theater. I saw the people standing in line with the popcorn. I said, I want some popcorn. She says, I got some in my purse. I don't want that popcorn. I want that popcorn, because it was all about the experience. I know I wasn't hungry, but I wanted to do what everybody else was doing. I wanted to stand in line. I wanted to go up to the bar. I wanted that whole thing. And that's how they get us. That's how,
Yes, it's the
because
experience.
it's the
How
experience.
eye-opening is that when she tells you the truth that you're not hungry? When she then capitulates and brings you what you say you want, but
Mhm.
it wasn't that, it was the experience.
Yes. And that's why it's not the food, it's what we associate with it. I wanted the experience of it. And that's what we all want. That's what
Right.
advertisers want. That's what advertisers know. That's why
Mhm.
they create the commercials, they create the food environment. That's what restaurant people, restaurant owners, restaurants know. People
Mhm.
want the experience, not about the and I'll say me, I will go somewhere that has mediocre food, at least in the old days, mediocre food for a better experience. Oh, it's on the water. Food's not that good,
Exactly.
but it's okay. You know, you're not gonna, it's not nasty.
I don't want to freak anybody out, but there was a period in my life where I felt like I was addicted to Waffle House. I was going like twice a week. And one day I said to myself, you cook better than this.
Uh-huh,
You've got pancake batter and a waffle iron at home. You've got eggs at home. You've got sausage at home. You've got, strawberry jelly at home.
uh-huh.
And your floors are clean at home. So why are you here twice a week? It was like, it is the experience. Let's move on for a second. I want to talk about your book because you've written a book. The title is called Leaving Large, The Stories of a Food Addict. Tell us when you wrote it and tell us why you wrote it.
Yes. All right. So I wrote it because during my journey, right, as I was going to weigh in with my doctor every week, I would come in and tell her, about what I was eating, and I'd always have some sort of story. And she said to me, you should write a cookbook, but you need to include your stories because your stories are what's making the difference for you. She nailed
Wow.
she nailed it. I'm like, I ain't gonna do that. No, no, just give me my meal plan and give me my shot and let me get out of here. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to do that. And so, but she kept beating the drum. She would say that to me every time I came in. And then she started having me talk to her other patients, right? So here, no, no, no. Or do you have to leave right now? Can you hang around about 20 minutes? Because I have somebody coming in. I want you to talk to them. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. So
Wow.
after I had lost the weight and I had gotten settled and I had gotten clear, and I had figured out what my problem is, which is a problem for so many people. I was unconsciously eating too much of the wrong stuff for the wrong reasons. It just like appeared in my head that that's the issue. Unconsciously eating too much wrong stuff, wrong reasons. The other thing I figured out is if you work on the consciousness and if you work on the reasons, if you work on those two things, which are all in your head, it's all around belief, then then that piece in the middle, the what and how much of it, is
Mhm.
easier to manage. But
Wow.
most people start with the what and how much. They don't start with the consciousness and the reason. So when you flip the script, in flipping the script and making that shift, that's when you can get your power back. That's when you get your power.
Wow.
That's when you can get control. But this environment, this weight loss culture doesn't tell us that because they make money based on the fact that people aren't going to get it right. And I'm here to help people get it right, to flip it. And when you flip it, then you can start making shift. You can start making a shift. So
Now,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, 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 go ahead.
Okay, so I had lost the weight and I felt that it was true, right? I felt that I had figured it out and there wasn't going to be a struggle for me, but I really hadn't been tested. It hadn't been tested. It was like 2019, October 2019 when I like hit my number. And I'm like cruising along, starting my little Facebook group, everything's good. And then COVID hits.
Mm,
When COVID hits, everybody is stressed and freaked out. And I'm going to the refrigerator, and that's not me, but they're saying I'm going to the refrigerator, I'm watching TV, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm going to gain in weight. And so the environment was charged, and it made me ask the question, right? Is this really true? How am I going to protect myself? How am I going to make sure that I weather this storm and I don't gain the weight back? Right? How do I test it myself? And my doctor's words came back to me. You should write. You should write. And I started to think, Pam, about all the diets that I had been on over all the years, right? Everything I'd done. They all said, keep a food log, keep a journal. I never did any of that.
mm,
In the past, I never drank the water like they said. I didn't do the sleep like they said. Only thing I did was focus on how much can I eat and what can I eat. That was
right,
the lane. That
right.
and it didn't dawn on me that you're not doing because I looked at all those things and felt like that they weren't important. I didn't have the understanding and the knowledge that they were, right? So being committed to making this change and and really understanding that all of the elements are important. The getting the sleep is critical because
Yes.
this food addiction, obesity is a disease. It is a disease, and we heal from disease when we are
We rest.
asleep.
Hmm.
So the longer we sleep, the longer we have an opportunity to heal. Sleep
Right,
helps with clarity. It helps with impulse control. It helps with a number of things that we need in order to manage food. And notice I
right.
said manage food, not relationship with food. We manage
Ooh,
food. We have a relationship with ourselves, we have a relationship with people, but we manage food. And that phrase right there, manage relationship and comfort food, those two things send people down a rabbit hole.
when I hear relationship with food in the way that you're describing it now, it makes it sound like we're equal.
Hmm.
Right. But when you
Hmm.
say manage food, we are in charge. Food is our
Absolutely.
tool, and we decide.
Yes.
That
It's a
is
tool.
major.
And
Hmm.
I would suggest to you that whenever somebody says relationship with food, it's not equal. They're giving food more power.
Oh,
When somebody says my relationship with food, they're never saying it from a place of empowerment. They're saying it from a place of I don't know, it's a problem. It's a problem. But because they haven't realized that food is inanimate.
so
The
how you gonna have a
food,
relationship with it?
how are you going to have a relationship with it when it can't do anything but sit on a plate? That's all it can do. It all it does is a tool. And if and we are in control of the tool. We have to decide how we want to live, how we want to look, how we want to feel, how we want to show up. That is job one. How we want to live, look, feel, show up. We decide. And once we decide that, then we use food as a tool to get that. But most people haven't decided. Most people haven't
Wow.
decided that not only that, or that they deserve it. Most people don't haven't even decided that they deserve that. And
Ma'am,
so
I am running out of room taking notes.
you put yourself at the mercy. You put yourself at the mercy. You put yourself at the mercy of food. But it's not that. So as
It's
long
not that.
so as long as we talk about, I'm an emotional eater, right?
Mhm.
That's why it's so easy for people to say, talk about their relationship with food, because they're giving food some emotional qualities, right? We snatch all that back. And quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with giving food some emotional qualities if we give it the right ones. So we just to shift it. So when you decide that I'm going to eat because I want to honor my body, that's an emotion. You're going to make a different
Oh,
choice. You decide that I'm going to eat because I have pride in my body, right? That's a different choice. You make a decision that I'm going to eat because I have a desire to live a long, healthy, fruitful life. Then you're making a different choice. That's still an emotion. It's still an emotion, but
right.
it's an emotion that centers you to make self-honoring choices. But this toxic food environment keeps trying to pull us back, keeps trying to pull us back. So go ahead.
So you said earlier in our conversation, when you were on this yo-yoing, weight up and down, deep and down inside, you didn't think you would ever change.
No.
You didn't think you would ever get hold of it. However, I've read some of your other writing, and you said, and I'm reading, I'm quoting, never again will you eat a whole pie, a whole pizza, a whole gallon of ice cream. And you say that with certainty, so much different than before. And it comes from this knowledge that you've learned here.
Yes.
Did you have any counseling, mental health that went
So
into any of this?
so I went, I spent hours in therapy. I spent thousands of
Okay.
hours, thousands of dollars in therapy before this, right?
Mm,
Back in the 1990s, back in the 2000s, I I I I went to therapy because I'm a childhood sexual abuse survivor, which
hmm.
happens a lot with people that struggle with this disease. That quite frankly is what my next book is about, the connection between childhood sexual trauma and food addiction, obesity. The lines or the connection is staggering when you think about it. So I was in counseling for that. I was in counseling for grief. I was in counseling for grief over the relationship that I never had with my mother. All of that
Right.
impacted me and kept me in a place of pain and in dealing with stuff that I didn't know how to deal with. And there's some other stuff that's in the book too. So I
Okay.
to answer your question, I did have counseling, but counseling helped me. It helped me for sure, but it didn't take me the rest of the way.
Right.
Understand doing the writing, understanding understanding the real purpose of food, understanding what food is, making that connection between event, experience, memory, and how I was managing food,
Right.
that that's what saved me. That's the clarity. And so
Right.
the reason that I can sit here and not worry about ever gaining the weight back, the reason I can sit here and say I'll never eat, there's a whole bunch of other stuff I won't eat either, but I can only say so much in a TED talk. So I had to pick some key ones. But the reason that I can sit here and say that is because I have a tool, and this is a tool that I use for all the that I have all that I use with all the people that I coach. This is before everything I put in my mouth. Today, even today, anytime, I ask myself a set of questions. Everything. If this food will not give me the body I say I want, why am I eating it? Not
Mm,
just the body, the life, the health. If this isn't going to do it, right? Because nutrition, nourishment, and energy, it will. If is this food
right.
that?
Right.
Right. Is this food that? And if it's not that, why am I eating it? If it's not that, if it's not nutritious, if it's not nourishing, if it's not energy, if it's not going to help my body perform on my body, my brain, because food fuels our brain, it fuels
It
cognition, it
does.
fuels memory, right? If it's not going to do that, why am I eating it?
Why am I eating it?
Why this particular food now? Why this food right now? right? And am I hungry or am I something else? And that requires you to sit in it, right? Am I just eating because everybody else is eating and I want to feel like I'm a part of the group, right?
Hmm.
Am
Hmm.
I eating because it's free, right? How about that? Am I eating because I'm bored, right? If did something that just happened, am I eating it? Because if this thing had not just happened, would I still want to eat this?
Right, right.
So,
It's
but
the questioning, it's the introspection.
absolutely. And after a while, and it seems like a lot right now, but after a while, you can do it really quickly, right? You
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
like look and you identify, and that's how you stay conscious. That's how you get conscious. That's how you stay conscious. That's how you get control of your life back. And and
Wow.
it and those same questions you can apply to other
Any
situations
parts of your life.
in
Exactly.
every part of your life. That's why this is so life changing. This is why this is so life changing, and it takes practice to do, but it is so worth the joy that is on the other side. It is so very much worth it.
So tell us about your TED Talk. That was a few months ago.
Mhm.
Did you apply? Did someone recommend you? Were you nervous? And what kind of response have you got?
Okay, so this is so interesting. I didn't I didn't start off on this journey to do a TED Talk. I started off on this journey because I just wanted to wear cuter clothes. I mean, it was like it wasn't even a health issue, right? I didn't even when I wrote the book, I didn't even have the awareness that it was a health issue. I wanted to
I
look
want to fit
better.
in my clothes, right?
I wanted to look better in my clothes. I wanted to feel better. I mean, I just, I wanted to change. I wanted to be different, right? So um that that was my motivation, right? The doctor said write a book. Then I started helping people. I started realizing that I had some unique insight and understanding. And so in as much as I wrote the book for myself, I published it for other people. So
Mm,
that that was the shift that I made. But
mhm.
as I started to talk to people about the book and like these insights that I had, people would just say to me, you should give a TED talk. That's really interesting. You should give a TED talk. I'm like, why am I giving TED talk? Why would I do that? It
Mhm.
was kind of like, why on earth would I do that? And but it was recurrent. I heard it over and over. And then and I also think part of it, Pam, was that at the beginning of this journey, I was just I was coming out of 40 years of being covered up. I was coming up out
Mm,
of 40 years of really of hibernation, of not, I was stepping into myself. I was getting used to being who I was, right?
right, right.
So at the beginning, when somebody would say to me, you should do a TED talk, I'm not trying to, well, no, I'm not,
Yeah, yeah. You're hiding
but
still.
still hiding, right, right. So that was a new muscle. That was a new muscle that I had to build over the years. So as more people said it and I heard it over time, it became more of a thought for me, right? So it didn't, no, there was nothing appealing about it in the beginning. But the more I started to understand and see that my words had value, and to see that my journey had value, and that it could change people's lives and it could help people in a very meaningful way, the more I stepped into it. The
Mhm.
the more I see this as my life's work. So I feel like that I went through the 40 years of what I went through to be for this moment so
Wow.
that other people don't have to go through it.
Okay, so you mentioned coaching more than once. You are officially a food story coach. Tell us what a food story coach is and what it looks like to work with you.
Okay, right. So a food story coach is how I distinguish myself, how I make myself different than others. Because I help people make the mental shifts that they need to make in order to lose the weight that they need to lose to get the body that they want to get. Because here's the reality, Pam, before anybody ever gains a single extra ounce, a single extra ounce, a single extra pound, a single extra anything on their body, they gain it in their minds first. They gain it in their minds first, and they have to lose it in the same way.
Mm.
You gain the weight in your mind first, you got to lose your weight in your mind first. And the way that you do that is you change your thinking, you change your believing, you change what you know, you change what you thought, you change your thoughts are, what your thoughts are, and you do that through writing. And that's what I teach people how to do. I teach people how to uncover their stories, uncover the limiting beliefs that they have around food, uncover the destructive beliefs that they have around food, uncover the untruths that they carry in their spirit, right, around
Mhm.
food, the trauma
Mhm.
that they carry around food, because it's all resting in there and guiding decisions that keep them from following a healthy food plan. So when you get that story right, which I call finding your story, facing your story, rewriting your story, and replacing it, finding,
Wow.
facing, rewriting, and replacing,
Mhm.
then 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 you can rewrite the narrative and
Change your life.
operate in behavior that gets you healthy, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Once you learn that technique, once you learn the practice, you don't have to be around me, because you have the knowledge. You can do it yourself. I mean, if you want to be in the community for support, you do,
Mhm.
right? You want that because we all rise together, we all move forward together, and you want to be around people with like minds to support you, because
Mhm.
not everybody's going to understand this. So
Right.
to work with, there are a couple of different ways that people can work with me. I do a free emotional overeating group call in my Facebook group every Monday at 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
Anybody that joins my Facebook group, I come on, I coach for an hour, where it's a group support call every Monday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I also host many writing workshops, what I call a write your way to your right weight.
Mm.
A couple of Saturdays a month for an hour and a half from 11 to 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. You come on, I give you writing prompts around food and emotions, and you can start the discovery journey there. And
Mm.
it kind of gives you a sense of if this is right for you. This isn't right for everybody. The way I do
Right.
this isn't right for everybody. But if you can see that how this writing helps you, this self-discovery, right, that this is a process that you can be committed to, then
Mhm.
I do a 52-week program of transformation.
Mhm.
And I don't have like an 8-week body makeover or 9-week body. I don't have that, right? Because I'm talking about transformation. Transformation doesn't happen in a few weeks. You got to be
Right.
committed. And I work with you every day, right?
Mm.
I work with you through a partner every day. Let me say this. So the program is set up for accountability partners. And I give you a writing prompt every day around a specific emotion and a food. And you and your partner discuss that and write about that every day. I don't determine the length. It can be a short conversation, it can be a long conversation. You can write something short, you can write something long, but you do it every day. And you do it every day because you eat every day.
There you go.
You eat every day, and you are bombarded every day
These messages.
with these messages that want you to do something that's the opposite. And we do it every day because what the goal is to push out all those thoughts and beliefs that aren't serving you. And in order to push them out, you got to pour stuff in on a regular, continual basis that serves and support you. So we do that for 52 weeks. At the end of the 52 weeks, everybody writes their story. Everybody writes their story of transformation. We put it in a book, and everybody comes out of this program will be a published author because their story will be in a book.
Oh, wow.
It'll be Living Large, the story of whatever the group
Okay.
calls it. So that's part of it. But here's my favorite part of it. When I finally lost weight and got to the size that I wanted to be in October 2019, I scheduled a fashion shoot with a professional photographer, a professional makeup artist. After years of never wanting my picture being taken, never having a full length, never wanting to take full length photos, always wanting to take my picture from the neck up, being afraid of the camera, the mirror, all that. After decades of that. And that's one reason why this is so hard sometimes, because there are hardly any pictures of me when I was larger, because I
Right.
didn't want pictures taken. So I scheduled this photo shoot, and to this day, and I'm coming up on 5 years, that is still one of the best day ever of my life. To get the makeup, be on the camera with all the full the full body shots and the cute clothes that I wanted to wear, right? And so I want part of this program, for anybody that does this program, they get that too, because I want
Why?
everybody to
I
have
bet
that
there are
experience.
tears that day.
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Cleansing tears.
yes, absolutely.
I have a question because it comes to my mind that because disordered eating is more prevalent than we know, than we are aware. If you have a lot of weight on you, it's easy to tell that. Okay, suppose there is someone who is a size 10, 12, but has disordered eating. What would be some signs that we should be looking for?
Okay, so that disordered eating is a phrase that's out there, but
Mhm.
what it is disordered thinking. It is
Disordered thinking.
it is
Okay.
it is the thinking, and that changes how people manage food.
Okay.
And so, okay, I spend a lot. I used to spend a lot of time at gas stations. I still spend a lot of time at gas stations. You go in, it's lunchtime. You stand there with a 7-Eleven or Royal Farms or wherever it happens to be. You see people, they walk out at lunchtime, they have a bag of chips and a soda.
Mm.
That they could be a healthy weight, right? But that is disordered thinking right there. Because you can never drink enough soda, you can never eat enough chips to get the nutrition that your body needs. And your body, see, people get tripped up, right? They get tripped up because they don't know what real hunger feels like. And then
Mm,
once they're hungry, once they experience hunger, they're afraid of it, because that's the messaging that we get. But hunger is not the problem. I'm here to say that hunger is a good thing. In fact, cravings are a good thing. But hunger is a good thing because it's your body signaling you, I need some
it's time
nourishment
to
and
eat.
nutrition.
Right.
Body is saying I need nourishment and nutrition, but we give it chips and a soda. And we keep giving it a chips and a soda, and it keeps telling us I'm hungry, and we keep giving it chips and a soda. We can never eat enough chips and soda to give it the nourishment and nutrition that it needs. That's the disordered thinking.
Right.
That's that. So anybody that you look at, right? Anybody that you look at that is eating for a reason other than nutrition and nourishment, it is disordered.
Wow.
And we have and we have to do the work to really understand. The other question is this really food? That is
True.
is this
True.
really nutritious? Is this really nourishing? Or is it just what they tell us that it is? Because I spend a lot of time in airports, right? I spend a lot of time in airports, and it'll say on the front of the package, not just airports, even I'm looking at this all the time. It'll say something will say, oh, a great health food, or good for you food. And then you turn it on the back and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you cannot pronounce. But on the front,
Right.
because it's in a green package and it says a good source of vitamin A, or a good source of calcium, or a good source of something, oh, I'm gonna get that. But then we got to turn it over and look at the stuff on the back. And then the
I've
second
seen,
ingredient is sugar.
right.
But
I've seen labels that say food product. See,
mm-hmm,
I'm a writer too. So, the words matter. It says food product. You're
mm-hmm,
thinking,
right. Exactly. Ex-
exactly.
exactly. And I talk to people. Oh, all I do is go to Whole Foods. I'm here to tell you. I know shit no Whole Foods, but there's plenty of stuff in Whole Foods that will kill you.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Don't be fooled by that. Don't. And you think about it, you go to a grocery store, right? Go to a grocery store and you're running around the grocery store, and then there's an aisle or maybe 2 aisles, and it'll say health food, right?
Mm.
Been there? So if these 2 aisles are health food, what's everything else?
See, there's the words again.
Words. Yeah.
Okay, so you're working on your book, second book now. Um, where can our readers and listeners and viewers find you online? Your website and
Yes.
especially the Facebook community that you're talking about.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay.
So the Facebook community is it's a free Facebook group. You come in, there's all sorts of support along this journey. It's called I Am Brand New Now.
Okay.
And my name is Michelle Pettis, Petties. That's a Facebook group. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. I'm also on YouTube, and it's under I Am Brand New Now.
Okay.
At I Am Brand New Now. And it's I Am Brand New Now because in order for us to be different, or in order for us to reclaim our lives, we have to have brand new thinking. In order for us to have brand new bodies, right? Brand new lives, we have to think in a brand new way. So that's why it's called I Am Brand New Now.
Okay. So
If you're interested in my book, you can go online to leavinglarge.com and get it from me. I'll sign it. I'll sign it and send it. I'll sign it and send it to you. But if you don't want to go to leavinglarge.com, you can get it on Amazon or just go online and get it, or order it from, if you have a bookstore. If you want to order from Barnes and Noble, if you have an independent bookstore that you work with, they'll order it for you. But it's readily available. Let me say that.
excellent. And I'll put all of those links in our in the notes, liner
And if
notes.
and if somebody's interested in coaching, right? If somebody's just DM me, you can DM me or you can email me, and I'm happy to share the details of what that looks like.
So we're at the point of our chat where I ask you the same 5 questions I ask all guests that come on. We're the Healing Words podcast. So I'm taking the first letter from the word words, W, as related to your book. When did you know for sure? You've kind of answered this before, that you would write this book because your doctor had been urging you all along.
Hmm.
Do you remember the day, the hour, what you were doing when you said, I'm going to write this book?
Yeah, I do. I do remember. I had written a couple of stories. I had written a couple of essays, and I read them to people, and they were like, "Oh, these are good." I'm like, "Really?" I didn't have any confidence in that, right? And I saw something online that said, here's how to write a book. And I watched it on YouTube. And after I watched it on YouTube, I went online again and I found a course that said, get your book published in 10 weeks. And I signed up for this course because I knew it was important. That's why I wanted, it wasn't 10 weeks. It was 10 weeks, but it was at the point that I signed up, it would have been Black Friday would have been 10 weeks. And
Oh, okay.
I wanted to do that because I knew this was important, and I needed something with a deadline on it so it wouldn't fall amongst all the many things that I had started and never finished. So I knew for sure that I was going to write this book when I gave the people my
Get
credit
that
card.
money. There it is.
Right? Yeah, yeah. When I pulled out the when I pulled out the credit card, I was like, this book will be
Yeah.
done.
Okay. Oh, how did you organize your day? How long did it take you to write your book? Were you working in corporate then? Did you have to work write midnights or get up in the morning? How did you organize your day to write the
Girl,
book?
girl. So let me tell you what happened. So we were it was in COVID at the time.
Yes.
It was in
Yes.
COVID. I gave the people my credit card to be a part of this community to write the book, went on vacation, came back from it was a week, came
Mm.
back from vacation, and I got a phone call from my college roommate who said, I had blood clots, I am in intensive care, and I am having emergency surgery.
Mm.
This woman and I have known each other since I was 18 years old. I am her family. I said that let me get on the next train smoking, next plane smoking. But I needed to do that, but I had to get things in order. We had just come back from vacation. Like the day she called me, that was the day we had just gotten back. So I couldn't get like the flight the very next day because I had to get things in order to be away, right? Um, and so I was planning like 3 days out, and then I get another phone call from her that says, I'm having surgery, and I'm like, later for the plans, I'm coming. And so no one was flying. The airports, it was COVID. That
COVID.
that no one was flying. There were no cars in the parking lot. But she was in Texas. I'm in Maryland. She was in Texas. When I got to the hospital, I was her only visitor, and it it was not good. It it
Mm.
was it was not good at all. There were many times when they talked about amputating her leg. Um, it, so I was there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks with her through this, and other health issues came up. But I would come back to Maryland, and I had to call my job and say, I'm I'm going to. I was working from home
Right.
anyway, but this is what I'm dealing with. Thankfully, I had a job that was very supportive. And so I was back and I would go to Texas for 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I'd come back to Maryland. I'd be here for 2 weeks. But all the time that I'm back here in Maryland, I'm planning to go back to Texas. So I did that for about 6 weeks. But I wrote my book in that window of time.
In 6 weeks, while
No,
that
no,
was
no, no,
going
no,
on?
no, no, no. I
Oh,
I
oh, oh.
wrote, I wrote my book while all that was going on.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
my day, so I'm still working, although not working as much, but I'm going to the hospital. I'm getting up, and I'm still walking every day, and I'm going back to Texas. And and when I was in college, and really when I was in college was when I was struggling with a lot of my weight issues. And I remember just having epiphanies as I would walk through areas where I used to be, because she still lived in a college town. And I would pass Brahms ice cream, right? And I can't think of a time in the old days that I ever passed a Brahms ice cream and never went in, right? And so as I'm doing my morning walk, I'm like, there's a Brahms ice cream there. I don't I don't have any desire to go there, but this is very different from the old days. But here's the thing, that period of time was probably one of the most stressful times I've ever experienced in my life. I don't
Mm.
know if my friend is going, I don't know if my friend is going to make it. We're in the midst of COVID. I'm
Okay.
displaced. All of that. I'm powerless, right? Um, but during that whole period of time, I didn't have a desire to eat in a way that didn't support my health.
Right.
And what I realized is you can look at people and you don't know what's going on with them. You can't really tell what's going on with people if you're looking at people that are of regular weight, or what you would say normal. But if you're
Right.
looking but if you're looking at someone that's overweight, what you know immediately is that they've got some stuff going on in their life that they don't know how to handle, and that they're using food to handle it. There's some skills that they don't have, that they aren't equipped with to deal with what's going on in their life, and it's showing up in their bodies. That's
Right.
that's all that is.
That's all that is.
But you have those same things no matter what size you are. It's just
Right.
that
Right.
at another size, you figured out that food won't do it. That's a, that
Hmm.
that is
That's
the
it.
only that's the only difference, is that these people haven't figured out that
Mm.
food is not the answer to the problem. So that
Right.
so that so that was my routine. I would get up and write. I would get up early and write. then go to the hospital, do things, and I would come back and I would write. I would write in the afternoon. I don't write late at night.
Mm-hmm.
I do my best writing early in the morning, and then
Mm-hmm.
I would, and then I hired an editor. But
Right.
I did that, and that was in 2020. My book did not come out until 2021 because I wasn't able to meet that deadline of
Mm.
10 weeks because of everything that was going on. And
Okay.
I could have met the deadline, but the quality of the product wouldn't have been the same.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so, I mean, so that was an issue. That was a thing with my editor and I, because I was like, okay, what are you doing? Right. Because I've read the stories. And he says, wait, what's the rush? And I told him my concern that I don't
Mhm.
want this not to happen. And he's like, Michelle, it will happen. And I turned some stories into him, and I'm like done. Right. And he's like, no, you're not done. You need to write this story, and this story. Wait a minute. Why do I have to write those stories?
Right. Because he's an editor, as an editor speaking, he
Uh-huh.
sees your story. What is
Hmm.
that thing they say? You can't see the picture if you're in the frame.
Right, exactly.
So he could
Exactly.
see what was needed
What was
there.
missing?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Hmm.
so it ended, but it came out a year later on Black Friday.
That's fine. It came
Yeah,
out.
it came out.
That's what we
Exactly. It
needed.
came out. Yes.
Okay, so for the R, rear view, knowing what you know now, if you could go back to sixth grade Michelle, what would
Mhm.
you tell her?
Well, sixth grade Michelle thought she had it figured out. Like after sixth grade, Michelle ran home, and grandma said, "Oh, baby, you're not fat. You just have big bones." I'm like, I appreciate that, but I know the truth. But but here's the thing. Look, I I
Hmm.
don't have big bones, right? Look,
Wow.
I don't have big bones. But here's the thing: these are the same bones I had in the sixth grade. So for a sixth grader, they are big bones. For a grown woman, they're not. But it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized that I didn't have big bones. And so that shows you how
It's the thinking.
it's the thinking that needs to be recalibrated, right? That we're
Right.
walking around with stuff that we think about and believe about ourselves that's just not true, but we don't know it's not true. And so it had to be
Right.
proven to me because, and so I remember saying something. I had an assistant, and I said something like, "Well, I just have big bones," and she looked at me like I had 3 years. She said, "You do not have big bones." I'm like, "Well, yes, I do." And she's like, "No, you don't." And she did exactly what I did. She grabbed my wrist and put her hand around my wrist, and so here's the thing: it is hard for us to separate the truth like that when it comes from somebody that loves us and
You
somebody
love.
that we love.
That is so amazing. Now, granted, her response to you was meant in love, it was meant to support you. But
Mhm,
going back to what you said, that we accept what people that we love, suppose she said something absolutely, totally negative, because
mhm.
that's what a lot of people are dealing with.
Yes, 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 yes.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, she said she in her life said some stuff that sent me someplace. Right? So, I'll give you one example. We talked about this earlier. Um, when my mother died, I decided I wanted to go to therapy. Right. This is my very first attempt at therapy in my early 20s because my mother died when I was 23. And so I went to therapy trying to like sort it all out, because what I realized is that when she died, what died with her was the hope that I would
That you
ever
would
have
be
the kind
reunited.
of relationship with her that I wanted to have. That was never going to happen. And so I'm on the phone with my grandmother, and I tell her about it. My grandmother says to me, she said, "You mean to tell me you so weak you got to go see a psychiatrist?" That's what she says,
Yeah.
right? That's what she says, right? And so I rear back. It doesn't mean that I'm weak. It means sometimes you need an extra set of eyes. I don't know what I said, but I went right back at her, right? It's just like,
Mm.
that's not what it means. Different perspectives, something, right? And she said, Right. She gave me a grunt. And so I hung up the phone, all resolute. I went to 2 more sessions and I stopped. So no matter what I said back to her, what she said to
What
me
she said.
d-
Mhm.
landed. And so I
Right.
stopped. And I didn't go back again until it was after she died sometime later, and I went for my second round of therapy after she died.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so for the delete, I'm sure you're very, very, you're vulnerable here, and I'm sure you're vulnerable in the book. But in your writing, was there ever time where you said, that's a little too personal, maybe I shouldn't put that in? Did you have any questioning about anything that you put in the book?
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
What what I put in I put in every story that I could. I put I put in this story about my childhood sexual trauma. I put in the story about being abandoned. I put in the story about being one of the first Black kids to go to an all-white school in the 1960s, and the isolation of what that felt like. All that contributed to this feeling of displacement and this feeling of disconnection that I had. And so, see, this disease of food addiction and obesity lives in our disconnected spaces. And people needed to see it. And I'm so happy that I did, because when people read the book, they come up to me and they say, I see myself in your stories. And
Mm,
if they see their pain in my stories, I want them to also see their victory.
right.
And so I have to show that. I have to show and expose all of that so that people will know that it will not kill them, because
Mm,
that's what makes it so hard to face, because you think if I deal with this pain, I will never recover from it. And so I want people to know that on the other side of what you think
right.
is such unbearable pain is such unbelievable discovery and joy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay,
no.
so S, strengthen. How have you been strengthened by the writing of this book?
Oh, purpose. The this journey and the writing of this book showed me why I was born. Right? What's
Hmm,
that saying? What's that saying? Is like the two most important days of your life: when you're born and when you know why.
right.
Right? I I was born for this. I
Mm,
was born for this message. I was born for this moment. I was born for this work. I was born for this journey. So it
there you
it
go.
and in purpose there is strength, right? In purpose there is strength to be able to know that, to have that kind of confidence that I walk in that. I walk in that
Right,
every day.
right. Excellent. This has been wonderful, Michelle. I thank you so much for dropping by and chatting with us today. I know that our viewers are enjoying this. This is actually the longest interview I've ever had in more than a year. Not a complaint, just an observation. Because I feel like we can continue to talk. I feel like we've got more to say.
Oh,
Yes.
we're in my lane, Pam. I could talk about this anytime, any place. But the pleasure has been mine. I'm just, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for holding this space and having this platform. You're doing really good work. You're doing good work that'll help a lot of people.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, and I will put all of your contact information in the liner notes. Thank you so much, and we'll see everyone on the next edition. Good night.